Hello, everyone, and welcome to Z Talk. My name is Henry Zaldivar. I'll be your host today. And today I have a very special guest, a friend and colleague of mine, Matt Johnson. He's with Keysight Technologies, talking today about threat simulation, one of my favorite topics in cybersecurity. So I'll leave it to Matt to talk all about it, and I'll just be here to bounce some ideas off of him. So, Matt,
Oh,
it's
that's
all
why
yours.
you're here. Yeah, that's the man, the myth, the legend. It's
Yeah.
Henry here. Yes, I appreciate you bringing me on here to Z Talk or Z Talk. I'm sorry, and yeah, excited to talk to you guys about threat simulation. And I know
Mhm.
your cybersecurity talks, and I've seen you do many episodes kind of like this. So Henry, excited to be here. Thanks for bringing me on.
My pleasure.
All
So
right.
talk to us about threat simulation. How does Keysight do it? And
Yeah, so
talk to
threat
us.
simulation, let's think about that. Like cybersecurity, what are we really talking about here, Henry? We're talking about, you know, organizations that we've seen, both you and I, that have to always be defending, and that's what we see a lot of, Henry. Both you and I have had the discussions. They're protecting, they're trying to secure, and there's vulnerabilities with any infrastructure. There's going to be weak points. There's going to be weaknesses or dark spots, as I like to say, within an
Mhm.
infrastructure or a network. And that's where Keysight comes into play here. And we kind of have this methodology of having a great defense is also ensuring that you have an offense as well. And
Mhm.
that's really what threat simulation, Keysight's threat simulator is. It is a breach and attack system. It is your offense to your organization to understand where those weaknesses or those vulnerabilities might be within your current network. It's a really powerful tool. It's lightweight, SaaS based in any cloud environment.
Mhm.
And essentially, they're going to send out these virtual nodes or these nodes within your network, and we're going to be able to understand these different vulnerable or weak points that you have from that side of things. And Henry, just to dive in a little bit more, I get really excited when we start talking about threat simulation and breach and attack. But where this product line actually comes from is actually from the dark cloud, from the dark web. So there's already all these simulated and these all these different attacks that are coming from the dark web that we're actually sending in so that you can see, hey, here are some true real life vulnerabilities, or here are the vulnerabilities, and here are the real life scenarios in ways that people are getting breached. So a great tool, great threat simulation tool. Henry, I'm going to hand it back to you for a few moments. I know you probably have a question or two for me.
Oh yeah,
So what do you think?
for those that are watching, threat simulation, obviously people might think, well, what does it really mean? So from our technology folks that are listening to the show today, tell us about, it's an east, west, north, south. Kind of explain how that feel is, because people think of threat simulation. Well, what are you really testing when you say east, west, or north, south? What are what is going on with the simulator that helps them identify what their potential risks are, or pockets of risk, or dark spots, or how could they improve their security posture?
Yeah, so how they're doing that is through these nodes that are sent out, and it's
Mhm.
actually just not on like hackers or people trying to get in. It's actually to validate as well. But that's how folks are doing it. So simply, it's a node. It's just a sensor that's sent out, and it could be a virtual, it could be on-prem, or be in a laptop essentially. But that sensor is going to be sent into your current network. It's not going to tear or break anything down or anything like that, but it's there to validate or for you to be able to show your vulnerabilities in maybe a remote site
Right.
where the access point is on the edge, and there's a vulnerability there. And so what it's going to do is be able to send that data back to you and say, hey, here's a great remediation plan, or here's a great thought to make this more secure or or less vulnerable in
Mhm.
that site, that remote site. But the great thing with Keysight and how we go about doing this is that it's very lightweight. It's
Mhm.
essentially a virtual node that's sent in. So it could be held, or the software could be done on a laptop to, its own server, essentially. So yeah, to answer your question.
So if once a company deploys this right in their environment, how often can they run the simulator?
Well, that's up within. I mean, they have a scheduling assistant. We have scheduling assistants. So if they brought the product line, they have perpetual license, they could run it as many times as they would like. It's really up to that organization. We do have current clients now that are actually running it every 7 days or every 5 days.
Okay.
Sometimes they run it on a quarterly basis, or when they're installing a new program or a new solution, a new software, a new piece of
Mm-hmm.
hardware. This is
Okay.
a great tool to be able to validate that use case, that solution's use case, especially from cybersecurity or a breach and attack simulation. So a lot of organizations do that or see value in that just in the test side. So.
So when they run the simulator, it's going to give them some result. The is it scoring the results based on that simulation that runs across the network? Does it give them a report card, or what
It's more of a
like what's
report.
that deliverable on that end of it look like?
Yeah, on the other end of it, on the back end side of things, they're essentially getting a report and a remediation report. Hey, here's what we saw, and here are ways that we can see that you can remediate that vulnerability or that set of tools. So, working with organizations across the board and understanding what these breach and attack and these tool simulations have, and understanding that, then we're able to create this tool to say, hey, all right, you can test your current secure sec or your current network,
Mhm.
and then be able to offer some remediation tactics as well. And so those are offered in reporting after they've run the the threat simulation through the dark web. Yeah.
So this obviously fits every organization, private sector, public sector, every vertical, right? I mean, the cybersecurity affects everybody, not just one or two sectors.
You're right, Henry, and that's where my next thing. It's great to have a great defense, and I feel like folks in our industry and when we have a lot of our discussion, it's always on the defense, and that's where Keysight's threat simulation comes in on the offense. Let's go out and try to find these attacks, how they're coming in, so that we can have a defense to block them out, or be able to have more of a secure infrastructure so that
Mhm.
it doesn't make us vulnerable, which then makes our entire community or family vulnerable if you really think about it. You know, a lot of folks
Right.
think of their work as their life, and it is. So
Yeah.
we help protect that through this threat simulation.
So within the organization, I presume you're targeting the CIOs, CISOs. Is that where this conversation typically starts and goes?
Absolutely. I mean, on the lower level as well, but more importantly, I would say on the C level and higher, it's really about going in and understanding, are you meeting certain compliance regulations, or are you meeting certain standards that each organization has for themselves? And
Right.
so having that type of discussion with, threat simulation is really where we like to start. And then working down, we get down to the what I like to call hands-on keyboard, potentially, where we'll be able to work with a few engineers on the client side that are specifically running the product, and then be able to show them some ins and outs. But it's pretty easy once you get it installed. So, but yeah, that's kind of
Yeah.
the folks that we speak to on a regular basis
Yeah.
about threat simulation.
And it would make sense because today's CISOs, I'm sure today and yesterday too, right? And probably tomorrow, they're always challenged with getting budget, getting approvals with the board. And I think having good reports like this with the simulator that they can bring to the board and say, hey, we've identified these areas where we may have some gaps, like you said, some dark spots, right? And being able to take something to a board that is perhaps not very technical, because
Mhm.
if you bring them IP addresses and all that little mumbo jumbo, you're going to lose a board. So I think it helps the CISOs set the stage with, hey, we run in the simulator, we kind of have our kind of an assessment of where we're at from a security posture perspective, then leverage this report that they run to help identify the weaknesses, strengthen weaknesses. There's both sides of this, right? But can bring it
Right.
to the board in layman's terms, an executive summary, and say, hey, where we have this application in place, it ran, this information for us, and here's why we need this. And I think this is a great tool to help those CISOs CIOs, etc., have that conversation with the board and the executive teams, right?
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah. So, I mean, it's huge when we go in there. It kind of like it expands almost. Henry
Yeah.
is what we see. You know, they're saying, oh, we can validate tool settings, not even on the security side, on the networking side or infrastructure or cloud. You know, you can validate these things and on their deployment and see their weaknesses or their vulnerabilities. So yeah, a lot of organizations utilize this in many different ways. So yeah, all right.
Well, that's good to know. And I have nothing else for you, Matt. I mean, I think I asked a few questions that came to my mind as far as the technology itself and how it can be used and where it fits. And so I mean, I'm a big proponent of threat simulation from many years ago, and I'm glad to have met you and go down this path together, helping our clients understand this technology and maybe have an opportunity to chat with them. So if you're out there watching, this video, please, reach out to me and get a hold of me and Matt, and we'll work together to bring a nice threat simulation solution there for you. So with that said, Matt, I wanted to thank you for coming on my show today. I know it's been a while since I've had one of these. If you see my on my channel, it's been a good year and a half. There are many reasons for that, but I felt this was the right time to bring the Z Talk brand back on in this format. I am doing AI videos every week on other kind of things, AI and cybersecurity, and all kind of topics, from VRM and XDR to other things. So I'm glad to have you as my first one in a while. So I hope we'll have a few more. So we'll have a little series and go through all the technologies that Keysight can bring to market.
Yeah, we're excited about that, Henry, and we appreciate you bringing us on.
Well,
So thank you very much. This has been great today, and we're excited to share, the great story of threat simulation and Telefonica Tech, and appreciate it. So yeah, we're looking
absolutely.
forward to the rest of the season, essentially,
Yeah.
and being on T Talk.
Yeah, we'll have a regular conversation here. So I thank you for your time, Matt. And for those of you, viewing, I hope you find this series informative. This is the first one that I'm doing with Matt, but we'll have a few more. We've already kind of mapped out what we want to do. So stay tuned and stay well out there. And again, thank you, Matt, and take care, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.